certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz.
Now we know that he's not looking at a regular man right here, don't we? He's not looking at no regular man. We go ahead and read though. I'm sorry, he's not looking at no man. This ain't a man, period.
Come on.
This is spirit being he's looking at.
That's right.
Go ahead and read.
His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning.
Now we know we looking at an angel, not don't we, or a spirit. Go ahead and read.
And his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude.
Go ahead.
And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision. For the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell upon them.
Go ahead.
So that they fled to hide themselves. Therefore I was left alone and saw the great vision. And there remained no strength in me.
He said, and there remained no strength in me. You understand? He saw this being, and he just like passed out like. Go ahead and read.
For my comeliness was turned into me into corruption.
He was scared, wasn't he? Just like we read about Job. Job was scared, wasn't he? Go ahead and read. He's looking at the same thing that Job was looking at, a spiritual being or an angel. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength.
Now see what happened when you know the Spirit speak to you? Because you know men talk, the Spirit just spoke to me. Why? Ain't nobody else hear him. And then if you see a spirit for real, boy, you're going to be scared. Just like Job was and just like Daniel is right here. Go ahead and read.
Verse 9. Yet heard I the voice of his words. And when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face.
See, he fell out. He just fell out on his face. That is really something, ain't it? Man just passed out. Just from seeing this angel or this spirit. Go ahead and read.
And my face toward the ground. And behold, a hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands.
See, he probably would have still been down there on his face if he had picked him up. Because that's how scared he was. Go ahead and read.
Verse 11. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee.
Go ahead.
And stand upright, for unto thee am I not sent. And when he had spoken the word unto me, I stood trembling.
See there? Just like Job, boy, he said a hair stood up on his head, didn't he? Now Daniel said he's standing there trembling. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And when he had spoken,
the Lord don't never show me this, boy. Because, man, I'll probably have a heart attack. Go ahead and read.
And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou dost this, set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God.
Go ahead.
Thy words were heard, and I am come from thy words. I am come for thy words, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days.
Now he said the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 20 days, right? So you got a spirit being holding up another spirit being. Everybody seeing this? You had, which was Satan. This prince of Persia was Satan. He holding up another spiritual being. But then what happened? Go ahead. But that which is flesh, and that which is spirit, right? We dealing with spirit right here. We already dealt with the flesh, now we dealing with spiritual beings now. He said, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Go ahead.
But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. And I remained there with the kings of Persia.
Now he come another spiritual being, Michael. He come and check Satan. Get up off of him, man. And he let this angel go, which is Gabriel. He let him go. You see, but we got 3 spiritual beings right here, don't we? 3 spiritual beings. You got the Prince of Persia, which is Satan. You got Michael, the archangel, and then you got Gabriel right here. So if you go to, I think it's if we keep reading, I think it will say it's Gabriel. But either way, though, we got 3 beings right here, don't we? 3 spiritual beings. Now look how they look, though. Keep reading.
Now I have come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is for many days. And when he had spoken such words unto me, I set my face toward the ground, and I became dumb.
He said, I became dumb. Now he's still looking at this angel. And the angel telling him what happened. To him, he was held up 21 days by the Prince of Persia, but then here come Michael and delivered me. Because I'm trying to get to you to tell you a message, but I got withheld. Now, he said, he had his face toward the ground and he became dumb. Daniel couldn't conceive all this. He like, man, what are you talking about? Verse 16, go ahead.
And behold, one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my lips.
Now, wait a minute. One like the similitudes of the sons of men. So this angel that on this spirit that he's looking at, it looks like a man. But that which is flesh, and that which is spirit is spirit. You understand? Daniel is a man, ain't he? And this angel right here, this is a spirit. Gabriel is a spirit. But he said he was of the similitude of a man. Now remember, Job said he couldn't discern the form thereof. But Daniel telling you how he looked now, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
He said he was of the similitude of a man. Go ahead and read that verse again. Get a little chilly down here.
16. And behold, the one like the similitude of the sons of men touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spake.
Go ahead.
And said unto him that stood before me.
Go ahead.
O my Lord, by the vision my sorrows are turned upon me. And I have retained no strength.
See, he's still weak, ain't he? But you see, we're still looking at a spiritual being, and we're looking at a fleshly being, aren't we? Because that which is flesh, and that which is spirit. And you must be born of the water, and you must be born of the spirit. Now, if I told you earthly things, you don't understand that, how you understand heavenly things? And this angel right here, this is a heavenly being, ain't it? Talking to a fleshly being. I want everybody to conceive that and look at what you're looking at right here. Let's go now. Let's go to but we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna deal back with that for a minute. We're gonna go off the scale for a minute here because a sister had asked me a question. Let's go, because the sister asked me a question. And so we're going to get off the lesson just for a minute here because I want to point something out real quick. Let's go to Revelations 22. No, I'm sorry. First, let's go to Revelation 22. We're going to get to that. Revelations 22 first. Revelations 22. Because we're still on this spiritual being. We're going to get off of him in a second. Revelations 22 and 1. Revelations 22 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb.
Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
And he saith unto me, seal not the saying of the prophecy of this book.
Go ahead.
For the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. And he which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still.
Go ahead.
And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be.
Because see, there's some work that's got to be done. But go ahead.
I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end,
now, wait a minute.
the first and the last.
How can he be Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end? How can he be that except he was God first?
That's it, brother.
Right? He said he is the beginning and he is the end. But go ahead and read some more though.
14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Hold on 1 second. We got something wrong. We got something wrong. Hold on 1 second. I think there's supposed to be Revelations 19 and 1. 19 and 1. Let me see. Yeah, sorry y'all. It's supposed to be Revelations 19 and 1. 19 and 1. Go ahead and read it. Everybody got it? Amen. Revelations 19 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
And after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven, saying, Hallelujah! Salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God.
Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
And I fell at his feet to worship him.
Now look, John right here, he's looking at an angel. He said, I fell to his feet to worship him. Go ahead and read.
I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said to me, See thou do it not.
See, you're scared of him, you're going to fall down and worship him, and you understand? In other words, you're going to yield yourself to him, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
You're going to yield. You're talking about an angel right here. He said, I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, go ahead.
He said unto me, See thou do it not.
He said, see that thou do it not. Why?
I am thy fellow servant.
He said, I'm your fellow servant. But that which is flesh, and that which is spirit. But he's still a fellow servant, though, isn't he? Although God had made this man a little Lord than the angel, but know you not that we shall judge angels? We're going to be judging angels one day. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus.
That's the only thing that makes us brothers right there. We ain't brothers according to the flesh, are we? We are brothers because we have the testimony of Jesus. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir.
Verse 10. Just start again. Verse 10.
Yes, sir. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus. Worship God. For the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
Go ahead.
His eyes were as the flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And his name is called the Word of God.
Stop right there. So now, we are still looking at a spiritual being right here, aren't we? We are still, but you say he's going to fall down and worship and what? Just like Daniel, he fell down and passed out, didn't he? Job said, look, man, the hair stood up on my head. And now, John, because I'm just trying to make a point that, when you see a spirit, you're going to react. You're going to either be scared out of your wits, or you're going to fall out, pass out, or you're going to fall down and worship him. And he said right here, he said, See that thou doest not, for I am of thy fellow servants and of thy brother that had the testimony of Jesus. Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is spirit of prophecy. Now we're looking at it still a fleshly being, which is John, and we're looking at a spiritual being, aren't we? Now, we're going to get off the lesson for a minute because we still going to deal with Jesus a little bit, but because the sister asked me a question. So I decided that I'm going to put this in here. So let's go to Psalm, because we're going to come back to this born again in a minute. Let's go to Psalms, the 22nd chapter. Psalms 22. We're going to get off the lesson just for a minute here. Psalms 22, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Psalms 22 and 1. Everybody got it? Yeah. Go ahead and read it.
my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Uh-huh.
Why art thou so far from helping me?
Go ahead.
And from the words of my roaring.
Now, who are we dealing with right here? We're dealing with the Lord, aren't we? Let's show you. Skip down to verse 18. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Skip down to verse 10. Go ahead.
10.
Uh-huh.
I was cast upon thee from the womb.
Uh-huh.
Thou art my God from my mother's belly.
Thou art my God from my mother's belly. Because we know that the Lord, that's where he came from, his mama's belly, didn't he? That's where we come from, our mother's belly, didn't we? Go ahead and read.
Be not far from me,
Uh-huh.
for trouble is near, for there is none to help.
Uh-huh.
Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round about.
Uh-huh.
Beset me round, excuse me. They gape upon me with their mouths.
Go ahead.
As a ravening and roaring lion.
Uh-huh. Now look who we're talking about. Go ahead.
I am poured out like water.
Uh-huh.
And all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax.
Now wait a minute. Now, you know, David wrote this song and everything, but look who told him to write it though. The Lord told him to write it, didn't he? Now he knew all this was going to happen to him before it happened. And then, you know, remember they poked him with the spear and out forth came out blood and water, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, they gape upon me with their mouths as ravening and roaring lions, and I am poured out like water. Because when they poked him with the spear, what happened? What came out? Blood and water. Well, he's telling them to write this before it even happened. Thousands of years before it even happened. And that is really something to know that, look, man, this is going to happen to me. I'm telling the prophet to write this, but it's talking about me, though. Go ahead and read.
It is melted in the midst of my bowels.
Uh-huh.
My strength is dried up like a posture.
Go ahead.
And my tongue cleaveth into my jaw.
Uh-huh.
And thou hast brought me into the dust of death.
He said, thou hast brought me into the dust of death. Because men die, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Jesus died, didn't he?
Indeed.
Go ahead and read.
For dogs have compassed me.
He ain't talking about the four-legged dog. He talking about the two-legged dogs. I'm going to show you. He said, for dogs have compassed me. Go ahead.
The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me.
Uh-huh.
They pierced my hands and my feet.
Ooh, now we sure don't know what we're talking about that, don't we? Now he said they pierced my hands and my feet. Now, you know, that would be sort of ingenious of the Romans once they pierced somebody, put somebody on the cross, but they'll put them on the cross like this instead of like this. That would be genius to put them on the cross like this, wouldn't it? Put them on a tree like this instead on a tree like this. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying this for a reason because the sister asked me about this. So that would be ingenious for them to put them up there like this instead of like this. He said, they pierced my hands and my feet, didn't he? So we know that we're talking about the Lord right here, don't we? Read it one more time.
16.
Uh-huh.
For dogs has compassed me. The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me.
Uh-huh.
They pierced my hand and my feet.
Go ahead.
I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me.
They look and stare upon me. What else they do?
They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture.
He said they part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. Now we know that we're dealing with Jesus right here, don't we? Right. Well, he is the one who told David to write this about himself before thousands of years before it happened. Now, let's go now. Let's go to Mark, the 15th chapter. Mark 15. And we're going to pick it up at verse 24. Mark 15 and 24. We're going to get back to the born again in a minute. Mark 15 and 24. Everybody got it? Yeah. Go ahead and read it.
And when they had crucified him,
So now, he was crucified. He was crucified. Go ahead and read.
they parted his garments and cast lots upon them.
Now, we know what we're talking about, don't we? Just like we just read over the 22nd Psalms, right? Go ahead and read.
What every man should take. And it was the third hour, and they crucified him.
Uh-huh.
And the superscription of his accusation was written over. The King of the Jews.
King of the Jews. Go ahead and read. Now, let's skip down to, because we want to get to the point here. Skip down, so they crucified him, right? Skip down to verse 29. Go ahead and read.
29.
Uh-huh.
And they that passed by railed on him.
Because he said the dogs could pass at me, didn't he? And the bulls of Bashan and everything, right? These are what he said, the wicked stared at me, didn't he?
He did.
And here they are right here. Read it again.
Yes, sir. 29.
I told you it wasn't no four-legged dog, it was two-legged dogs. Go ahead and read.
And they that passed by railed on him, wagging their heads, and saying, Ah, thou that destroyest the temple, and builded it in 3 days.
Because Jesus said, look, destroy this temple, and I'm going to raise it up in 3 days. What was he talking about? He was talking about his body. Go ahead and read. Now they railing on him now, aren't they? They talking smack to him. Go ahead and read.
Verse 30.
Yeah, that's really something, though, guy on the cross. And they been still talking stuff to him. Go ahead and read.
Save thyself and come down from the cross.
Now this is what they done. Now they mess with them. Look, man, if you're supposed to be the Christ, save yourself and come down from the cross. You who you say you are, come on down from that cross. Go ahead and read.
Likewise also the chief priests, mocking, said among themselves.
See, I told you it was two-legged dogs. Them wicked men that was talking about him and saying all this wicked stuff about him. The dogs can pass me round about. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Likewise also the chief priests, mocking, said among themselves with the scribes.
Go ahead.
He saved others. Himself he cannot save.
Go ahead.
Let Christ the King of Israel descend now from the cross.
Wait a minute. See what he was on? He said, let Christ the King of Israel descend now from the. They had King of Israel. They had that part right, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
They said, let him descend from the cross. Because that's what he was on. A cross, right? That's how they just called it crucified. And that's what they put him on, a cross. Go ahead and read.
That we may see and believe. And they that were crucified with him reviled him.
Now, so they say, you know, if he be the Christ, then let him come on down off of that cross, man. And then we'll believe you then. But let's go now. Let's go to Acts, the 10th chapter. Acts 10. And we're going to pick it up at verse 36. Acts 10 and 36. Acts 10 and 36. So Jesus was crucified on the cross, wasn't he? When he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He was on the cross, wasn't he? He said, I am poured out like water. He was on the cross then, wasn't he? Acts 10 and 36. Go ahead and read it.
The word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
He is Lord of all.
Skip down to verse 39. Go ahead.
And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree.
Whom they slew and did what?
Hanged on a tree.
Well, we just saw he was crucified on the cross. But he said they hung him on a tree. Why? Because that cross was made out of a tree. That's why. And this is not the only time that men have been hanged on a tree. So we see now that Christ was hung on the cross. He was hung on what? A tree. Go ahead and read.
Verse 40. Him God raised up the third day. and showed him openly.
But look, the Lord still raised him up from the dead, though, didn't he?
Indeed.
Go ahead and read.
41.
Uh-huh.
Not to all the people, but unto witnesses chosen before of God, even to us, who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead.
Ooh, you see that? Who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. Ain't that something? Spirits can eat. Because that's what Jesus was when he came from the dead, a spirit. Spirits can eat. Verse 42.
And he commanded us.
So now, wait a minute now. Because they just said, we did eat and drink with, so they saw a body, didn't they? They weren't just walking around looking at no puff of smoke. They saw a body. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what's going to happen when men come out the grave. You're going to see a body. Anybody see anybody coming up out the grave? Then you ain't born again. I'm going to show you. He is the only one that has been born again. Because he is the only one that come up out the grave and live forever. Ain't nobody else done this. You might say, well, okay, well, what happened to those people there that came out the grave in his resurrection? They went back to sleep. Otherwise, we'd be looking at them, wouldn't we? What happened to Lazarus when he went to sleep? Jesus raised him from the dead, right? Okay, where's he at now then? He dead because he ain't get no spiritual body, did he? Just like those people that raised from the dead. What about that man during the time of the Moabites and kings over there? They threw him in Elisha's grave and he jumped up out the grave. He touched Elisha's bone and he jumped up out. He was dead and he jumped up out the grave. Where's he at? He dead, ain't he? Otherwise he be walking around here now. Hey man, I hope y'all ain't y'all young. Y'all ain't nothing but babies. Y'all still infants. I'm 3,000 years old. Because we don't see nobody walk around here like that do. My point is this. When people come out the grave, when Jesus came up out the grave, they saw a body, didn't they? They saw a body. Go ahead and read though. 42 again. So he was hung on a tree, wasn't he? He was hung on the cross. Go ahead.
42.
Uh-huh.
And he commanded us to preach unto the people and to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of quick and dead.
So he gonna judge the quick and the dead, the living and the dead. He gonna judge. But it's gonna be at his appearing, though, the book say, don't it? Let's go now. Let's go, because that's not the first time somebody been hung on a tree. Let's go to Joshua the 10th chapter. Joshua 10. Men that's how they used to kill people on a tree. Over here, they called it a tree, but then they said they crucified him though, right? And they hung him on a tree. And that's what they called it during the times of the Romans, who done it, crucifixion. That's what they called it. Joshua 10, and we're going to pick it up in verse 15. Joshua 10 and 15. Go ahead and read it.
And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal.
Go ahead.
But these 5 kings fled, and hid themselves in a cave at Makkedah.
That was a wrong move for them. They hid themselves in a cave. Go ahead and read.
And it was told Joshua, saying, the 5 kings are found hid in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it for to keep them.
See, that was a wrong move for them. Joshua said, okay, they're in the cave. All right, just roll a stone over. They can't get out now. Hold them there until I get ready for them. Say, oops. That was a bad move for them, wasn't it? Go ahead. Verse 19.
19. And stay ye not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindmost of them.
Go ahead.
Suffer them not to enter into their cities, for the Lord your God hath delivered them into your hand.
Now these 5 kings that went into this cave, Joshua said, okay, roll that stone, we're going to hold them there for a minute. Skip down, let's see what he done to them. Skip down to verse 22, go ahead and read.
Then said Joshua, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave. The king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon.
This is before Joshua and them took over the land of Israel. But go ahead and read.
And it came to pass, when they brought out these kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel and said unto the captains of the men of war, which went with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings.
Ooh, you see what he said? He said, come here, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. That is really something, ain't it? You know, the foot in the neck, this is literal right here, ain't it? So you know how some people say, man, the man got his foot in my neck. He don't mean literally, you understand? But right here, we're looking at literal right here. He said, come put your foot in their necks. Go ahead and read. What else he do to them? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. And Joshua said unto them, fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage. For thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight.
In other words, he's going to put your foot upon their necks. We go ahead, verse 26.
And afterward Joshua smote them and slew them.
And slew them, go ahead.
And hanged them on 5 trees.
And hung them on 5 trees. See, so hanging on the tree wasn't nothing new.
Teach.
It wasn't nothing new. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And they were hanged upon the trees until the evening.
Until the evening. They left there a long time, didn't they? Go ahead and read.
27. And it came to pass at the time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded, and they took them down off the trees.
Off the trees. So Jesus wasn't the only one that was hung on a tree. You understand? Look at here. Joshua hung 5 men on trees. Go ahead and finish.
And cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain until this very day.
That brother was a great general, wasn't he? He said that cave that they was hiding in, throw him in there. That is right. These brothers was, this brother was cold, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
One of the greatest generals to ever live.
Make it plain.
Let's go now. Let's go. Because, you know, like I said, Jesus wasn't the only one that was crucified on the cross. He wasn't the only one that was hung on the tree. Let's go now. We're going to read something right here. We're going to the Atlas of the Bible, and we're looking at the revolt against Rome. So we're going to read right here, and then we got one more spot to read.
Yes, sir.
Right here. We're going to stop right there.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. Revolts against Rome. In 68, the Roman commander launched a methodical campaign to isolate Jerusalem. Titus faced a formidable task. Jerusalem was the most heavily fortified city of that time.
Right here. Yeah.
The walls enclosed the temple in the upper end.
Now here comes this happened in 70 AD. Here comes Titus and he comes to destroy Jerusalem. Right? Now look what happened when he came in to destroy Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. And the upper and the lower cities were the most formidable, barrier of all. Postponing an all-out assault, Titus turned to starvation tactics. A certain amount of food had been smuggled into the city almost nightly during the siege. But now the Romans sealed off Jerusalem completely with a wall of their own, made of earth and some 5 miles in circumference. From the outset.
Now you know Jesus told you about this over in, I think that's Luke the 19th chapter, that this was going to happen. We didn't read that. But look at what they done to him though. Go ahead.
From the outset of the siege, those attempting to get through the encircled lines had been caught and crucified.
Oh, so they were caught, and this is what the Romans called it. So the people, the Israelites, were caught and what? Crucified. Look how they crucified him though. Go ahead.
Sometimes the daily executions reached 500.
500 a day.
The crosses were never bare.
The crosses were never bare. So Jesus wasn't the only one that was on the cross then, wasn't he? He wasn't the only one that was hung on the tree. This is a horrible way that the Romans chose to kill people. Put them on the cross. You finished with that?
Says inside the city, starvation and disease claimed a mounting toll. Bodies filled the streets and were stacked in houses. Thousands of corpses were thrown from the walls into the valley below.
Now, he hung 500 a day on the cross, which is what? A tree. It's that simple. The cross is a tree. Now, because sister asked me about that, so I just want to deal with that for a little bit. All right, now, let's get back to born again. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. 1 Corinthians 15. So Jesus, he died on the tree, didn't he? 1 Corinthians 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. 1 Corinthians 15 and 3. Everybody got it? Yeah. I'm not boring y'all, am I? 1 Corinthians 15 and 3. Go ahead and read it.
For I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures.
Go ahead.
And that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the Scriptures.
He rose again according to the Scriptures the third day. Go ahead and read.
And that he was seen of Cephas, then of the 12.
Now wait a minute, they saw a body, didn't they? After he came out the grave.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
After that, he was seen of above 500 brethren at once.
Now, he was seen above 500 brethren at once. You mean tell me he the only one of his kind at this time? And at any time. That is really something. You walking around looking at a spiritual being. Somebody just came up from the grave and walking around. I mean, 500 people. I probably wouldn't have been one of them. Probably been somewhere peeking. That's it. Who that? You understand what I'm saying? Because you know us black, spirit come up on us more. You see what happened to Daniel and Job. Them Israelites, well, they was terrified, wasn't they? So what we be? Right. Because the Lord said he had gave Israel a trembling heart, didn't he? So he was seeing over 500 brethren, man. Just imagine that. You walking around looking at Jesus after he done died and you done saw him on the crucified, on the cross, hung on the tree, right? Put in the burial, right? And now he out that burial walking around. The only one such being that has ever existed. And they were looking at him. That is really, I mean, the man, I can't even fathom that right now. And then we going to be like that, walking around, if we make it, walking around, that came up out the grave, a spiritual being, now we walking around, and we going to be living forever?
Hallelujah.
Amen.
But he's the first one, though, ain't he?
Right.
All the way back during the 1st century. Nobody else has pulled this off. He the only one defeated death.
Make it plain, brother. Yes, sir.
The only one to defeat death. What verse you at? I mean, I'm lost right now.
Middle of 6.
Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Back at the top.
Uh-huh.
After that, he was seen above 500 brethren at once,
Uh-huh.
of whom the greater part remain unto this present, but some are fallen asleep.
Have anybody ever seen anybody walking around like this? Now, went into the grave, went to sleep. I'm talking about went in the grave. Now, you done heard of people coming back to life and all this stuff, right? But have you ever heard anybody getting buried and then coming back to life? And then they walking around and stuff and talking and everything, eating? You understand? That is really something, ain't it? The first of his kind. The only of his kind. Go ahead and read.
Verse 7.
Uh-huh.
After that he was seen of James, then of all the apostles.
Go ahead.
And last of all he was seen of me also,
Uh-huh.
as of one born out of due time.
Ooh, wait a minute. You see what he said? As of one that was born out of, how many times was he born then? That's twice he was brought forth of his mother, wasn't he? From the womb, wasn't he? Now he just told you one, he looked like one that was born out of due season. How many times was he born? That's twice, ain't it? The only such kind of that creature. Born twice, wasn't he? But we're going to get a little bit deeper with this. We're going to go a little bit deeper. What like verse you leave off at?
I'm at 9.
Now, let's go now, because we're going to go a little bit deeper with this. Let's go to Matthew, the 28th chapter. Matthew 28. Matthew 28 and 2. Matthew 28 and 2. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it.
Now we're looking at a spirit being right here. Now notice what you're looking at now. Notice what you're looking at. The angel came and rolled back the stone. So we're looking at a spiritual being right here, aren't we? Go ahead and read.
His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow.
Go ahead.
And for fear of him, the keepers did shake, and became as dead men.
Now they scared, wasn't they? I told you, Israelites, they scared, boy. Go ahead. Everybody that saw these angels and the spirit, they were scared, wasn't they?
Rightfully so, brother.
Verse 5, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified.
Now imagine that now. They standing there and an angel talking to them, a spirit talking to them. Just like Daniel, just like Job. Can you imagine this? A spirit standing there talking? But he talking to flesh and blood, though, ain't he? A spirit, that which is flesh is flesh, and that which is spirit. You must be born of the water, and you must be born of the spirit. Now, we got a spiritual being talking to some flesh again, don't we? But look what else we got. Go ahead and read.
Says, I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said.
Go ahead.
Come, see the place where the Lord lay. And go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you.
Now they saw a body, didn't he? He said, go there, you're going to see it. But look at what you're looking at, though. Skip down the verse. You're looking at a fleshly being, you're looking at a spiritual being, and now you get ready to see something else. Skip down to verse 16. Go ahead.
16. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them.
Go ahead.
And when they saw him, they worshipped him.
But when they saw him, so what was they looking at? A spiritual being, wasn't they? So you got a spiritual being that's an angel. You got a fleshly being that's a man, and then you got a spiritual being, the first of his and the only of his kind. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Amen. You're looking at two spiritual beings, but one of them the only of his kind, though. Right. The one that go in the grave, come out the grave, and live forever. So we see a spiritual being, a fleshly being, and another spiritual being here, don't we? Look at what he said. Go ahead and read.
And when they saw him, they worshipped him. But some doubted.
Go ahead.
And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth.
Now you see what he said? All power is given unto me in heaven and earth. He didn't say that before, did he? Not until he came up out that grave. That's right. He said, all power is given to me in heaven and in earth.
That's right. Yes,
because if all power was given to him in heaven and earth, in the sense that he said, they would have never killed him. Right. Now, let's go to, so we're looking at two spiritual beings and the fleshly beings here, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
That which is flesh is flesh. That which is spirit is spirit. You must be born of the water, and you must be born of the spirit, or you cannot see the kingdom of God. He can see the kingdom of God now, can't he?
Come on. Yes, sir.
Let's go to Luke, the 24th chapter. Luke 24. Everybody follow along what I'm saying here?
Indeed.
What the book is saying here. We're looking at born again now. In the true sense, in the only sense. Because you know what? Born again is not even mentioned but 2 times in the Bible. They didn't put a whole lot of emphasis on this born again. Why is that? Now, you know, people put, oh yeah, I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, born again, and everything. And then they got that backwards, don't they? Well, I can guarantee you, you are not born again according to the Bible. You're not born again. Let's go to Luke the 24th chapter and verse 36. Luke 24 and 36. Go ahead and read it.
And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them.
He wasn't doing this before. He just popped up in the midst of them. Just like now. Spirit just popped up in the midst of you. We're going to take off, but you know what I'm saying? I know I'm gone. The camera going to be pointing. It's going to be looking at the wall. Because I'm gone. But he said he just popped up in the midst of them, didn't he? And what he say?
In the midst of them, and said unto them, Peace be unto you.
Go ahead.
But they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed they had seen a spirit.
Hold it now. They were terrified and frightened, but they had supposed that they had seen a spirit. What kind of spirit? An angel. Because they had never seen one like his kind before. Because what Paul said, he looked like one born out of due season. He didn't look like no ordinary man. So they had never seen nothing like this before.
Come on.
So they said, well, look, they supposed that he was a spirit, an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, but what did he say? Go ahead.
And he said unto them, Why are ye troubled? And why do thoughts arise in your hearts? Behold my hands and my feet. That it is I myself.
Go because they pierced his hands and his feet, didn't they? He said, Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me. Oh, you mean they could touch him? Or spirit? Well, I thought spirit didn't have no form and shape or none of that stuff. Why can't they gonna touch him then? And we're looking at a body here, aren't we? That's what's going to happen when men come out the grave. It's going to be a body. And we ain't seen nobody's walking around here coming out no grave, did we? All that went in the grave still laying there, ain't they? Unless somebody picked them up out of the casket and moved them somewhere else. Other than that, they still laying there, ain't they?
Make it plain.
But this is the only one. He is the only one of his kind. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It says,
they ain't never seen nothing like they tripping. Go ahead and read.
Handle me and see. For a spirit have flesh and bones.
He said,
as ye see me have.
He said, for a spirit
not flesh and bones.
Read that over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Handle me and see, for a spirit have not flesh and bones, as ye see me have.
Oh, he said, now look at this now. He said, a spirit have not flesh and bones. And he said nothing about no blood, did he? He said, you don't have flesh and bones as you see me have. Now, don't ask me what kind of material it's made of. Only thing he said was flesh and bone. That's all I know.